I loved the military. I really felt like I was part of something bigger and part of something that was, noble to an extent.
But after 10 years, Elle Boatman's career in the Air Force came to an unceremonious end.
It's still illegal to be transgender in the military, and if they find out, then you're discharged.
Yes, she used to be a he.
It worked very well for a couple of years. I got hooked up working on C-130s and flying around, and I really kind of making rank. But then a few years after, like 3 or 4 years after I got in, the whole transgender thing started to come back up and started to cause some issues.
And not the funny kind of issues as portrayed on the TV show
Welcome
MASH.
home, sir.
May I ask where you got that?
Mail order catalog, sir.
A white wedding gown?
I'm entitled. I'm a virgin.
On MASH, Corporal Klinger pretended to be transgender to try to get out of the military. In real life, Boatman pretended not to be to stay in.
I was still presenting as male. No one knew that I was trans. No one even had really any idea. I had a couple of close friends that I think kind of knew that I had a secret of some sort, but no one quite knew what it was.
Finally, though, Boatman says she could no longer deny who she was.
The last couple of years that I spent in the military were really difficult. I ended up coming out to my spouse as transgender on Christmas Eve by accident, and that was not received well. She immediately took our children and went back to her parents' house with them. Shortly after that, I PCS'd here to McConnell, and I showed up here really suicidal and really depressed. I had a handful of suicide attempts in my first year that I was in Wichita when I was still in the military, and because of those, I was mandated to go to a military counselor and talk about all of my problems. But when I went in there and I told the counselor that I'm transgender, I was told that that was something that we weren't allowed to talk about. And we were allowed to talk about all the symptoms of being trans, such as the depression and everything like that, but we weren't necessarily allowed to talk about my actual being trans. I did that for a year, and then I was medically discharged from the military, unofficially, because I'm transgender.
The UCLA School of Law estimates that more than 15,000 transgender people are secretly serving in the U.S. military. There are another 134,000 who are veterans, such as Boatman.
I've had the chance to get to know several veterans who are also transgender, and kind of get to hear their stories and kind of get to know them. But yeah, I interact with cisgender veterans as well, and it's great to reminisce about the quote-unquote glory days, but there is always that sense of that I was cheated out of a career and being myself for a really long time.
Boatman is now free to be herself in her new job at Wichita State University. She's encouraged that the Obama administration may soon lift the military's transgender ban for the sake of people like her and for the sake of the country.
There's a stigma with trans people that we're confused or sexually deviant, or that we are we don't necessarily have the skills or abilities to contribute to society in any sort of meaningful way. But I've found that to not be true. We're just as skilled and driven and motivated and unique as any other person. And so those things that any individual brings to the military and their military service is exactly what the military is missing out on when they discriminate against transgender people.
For Veterans Coming Home, I'm Jim Grayway.